See, it's about love. It's not just about
just again. It's all water glazing you reminding. It made me love it and begin again. It made me love it and begin again. You made me love it and begin again.
Hello, sinners. My name's Alice San, and welcome to Alice's Shelf, the Bloody Chamber. Guys, today's an interesting day. We'll be talking about this short story called Puss-In-Boots, and it's pretty different from what we've been discussing thus far. I'm not really familiar with the origins of the Puss-In-Boots story, so I'm not going to go into depth on that, but we'll talk about how Angela Carter sets this story and how it can connect to what we've been talking about thus far. So for the first time, we have a protagonist that's not a woman. We have this pussycat, Puss in Boots. And he's handsome and cynical, because all cats are cynical. And we're introduced to Puss in Boots as he's handsome in his orange fur. So we already have a juxtaposition here. Remember, juxtaposition is the connection of two opposing ideas. He's handsome, which is an adjective we usually connect to human beings, in his orange fur, which is something we connect to animals. So we're yet again in this limbo of humanity and bestiality. And he purrs in French, another juxtaposition, because purring is something animals do. And in French is a language. Language is a human thing. Animals don't have language, remember that. Animals have systems of communication. Language is a human thing. We can talk about that if you want to. And he's naturally an acrobat, animal. And he always gets gifts. And he always gets pet. Gifts, humans. Pet, animals. So you see how he is already introduced to us in this limbo of an animal who kind of behaves like a human. So yeah, that's our protagonist. And then Puss in Boots tells us that he has this smile. He's always smiling, as if the smile was painted on his face, as all cats should, and as all cats do. They have this politician air. I love this metaphor so much. Like, it doesn't matter how bad it is, it doesn't matter the circumstances, they are always smiling. And this is a politician's air. And then he meets this guy, the master. So he starts like living with this guy, and like his the cat, and they work together and they have fun together and they go out and party. And then the guy goes and falls in love. Boo-hoo. We've seen how pessimist Angela Carter is towards love sometimes, right? This is gonna have a twist. The man falls in love, and Puss in Boots is pissed. So he falls in love with this woman that's always wearing a black veil. And Puss in Boots like plays around her to like rip the veil out so that the man can see her face. But there's a hag that takes care of the woman, and the hag is highly allergic to cats. So as soon as Puss is like, "Ha, here's her face," the hag starts sneezing, so Puss in Boots has to leave, and then it all goes to shit. But it's interesting because Puss in Boots is like playing this game of like, I'm gonna show my master the face of this woman that's always covered, but he says, "Oh, who could ever blame a cat for joy?" You know, so he plays with the innocence of being a cat. You know, like, I'm not even human. Can you really blame me for this? And then he tells us something. We get some exposition on his master, that he has had sex with a bunch of women, including married ladies and dutiful daughters. So there's this highlighting of the hypocrisy of people, right? But it has never been love until he saw the woman without her veil. Although she never lifted the veil for him. She's married. She's married to this guy, Signor Pantalon. So yeah, there they go. And he falls for her like big time. She becomes like everything to him. He lives for Sunday mornings when she goes to the church, and he goes to see her, and he stops eating, and he's obsessed. And Puss is like, what is in there for me? I don't like this love thing, can we? So what's Puss's idea? He thinks, well, if I get him to her bed, then this will all be over. Everything will go back to normal. We'll be fine again. So this is what I'll do. I'll get him there. They can, and then all's well that ends well, right? Let's do it. So Puss goes to visit the lady, and she has this little cat, this female cat. So he thrusts into the cat. And then he meets the lady, who tells him that her husband is an hoe. And he never lets her do anything. And then there's this hag that takes care of her, but she's also a bitch. But they exchange like some fortunate moments. So when we have the women away from the men, they have fun. So they start exchanging letters through the cats. They write a letter, Puss takes the letter, and then it's like, hi, I love you, I love you too, how cute. So then they have the idea of pretending that Puss and the master are rat trappers. They are going to save the house from all of the rats, because the hag hates rats, so she'll leave and then they can. So yeah, they go as rat trappers, then they go into the house, the hag leaves, the man's not there, and they're like, oh, we'll help catching the rats. And the other cat, what's her name? Tabs. She like catches some rats because she's only in the house to catch rats. That's her only job there. So she catches some rats and like spreads them across the house so that Puss can hunt them. So yeah, they go, and then it doesn't stop. The moment they meet each other at the bedroom for the first time, they kind of like, they stop and they're like, oh, who's going to, you know, and then Puss says, that's really interesting, but who is it steps towards the other first? Why? She. Women, I think, are of the two sexes, the more keenly turn to the sweet music of their bodies. Remember when we talked about Virginia Woolf's Room of One's Own? And how usually men would be connected to rationality and women would be connected to emotion, because that's how they had to live for centuries. And sometimes that's only perceived as a bad thing because the ones to set what's good and what's not are men. So this is kind of similar to what Virginia Woolf says there. And then Puss says that their sex is enough to melt the thorniest heart. Look how to Puss everything's about sex. So he even connects like romanticality to their sex. And she bleeds on the sheets, which leads us to believe that although she's married, her husband had never had sex with her. What a tragic life. And then they say that it's rat's blood. And then what does the man say? I'm burning with the fever of love. And Puss is like, what? That's I didn't plan that. So they have to keep on going. And then we get some more exposition, because we are told that the hag sits beside her to prevent her from smiling. And her man is rich enough to prevent love. So look at how there's a disconnection here from wealth and love. They can't coexist. This draws us a little back to the bloody chamber. I love doing this now that I learned how to put the videos here. I feel so... I'm such a YouTuber. So Puss is like, you know what? I have an idea. Just, you know what, master? Dress up as a doctor and leave it up to me. I got it. It will all be well. So they dress master as a doctor, and a lot of people are like, hi, need help. And they're like, shut up. Nobody asked. And then they go to the church, and then Puss like gets between the legs of the man and makes him fall and die. it's out of nowhere. And then the man dies, and the guy's like, oh, the doctor, the master, oh, let's take him back to his house so he can rest. And then they go back to the house, and the woman's like, well, now that he's dead, I have all the money. Hag, get out. I'ma ride this guy all night. And the hag's like, what? And she's like, what, do you want to play power? Because now I'm the one who has the money, which means you work for me, which means I'm in control, which means get out. And I'm giving you some money, so you should be happy about it. And the hag's like, thank you, bye-bye. So at the end, we have a very happy ending. Look at this. No one was expecting that. And there we sit upon the windowsill, like the two genii and protectors of the house. Ah, Puss, your rambling days are over. I shall become a hearthrug cat, a fat and cozy cushion cat, sing to the moon no more, settle at last amid the sedentary joys of a domesticity of two, she and I have so richly earned. So even though he was super against this love thing and whatnot, now that there's tabs and everything worked out with the couple that he built, has like, well, no, yeah, let's do it. You know, who doesn't want to be like sitting in the balcony with their husband and just enjoying the life, the two of them. At last, a lady has kids, but Tabs beats her to it because cats don't wait 9 months to have babies. And it ends on a very positive note, saying that it may everyone be as happy as they were. It's a nice story, right? Cute story. Although we have some points in which we have talked about feminist criticism, it's not that focused on the role of women in a patriarchal society like the other stories were. To me, it's a little harder to understand than the other stories, so I hope this helped enlighten Puss-in-Boots a little for you guys. Most of the articles I have read on Angela Carter, people tend not to mention Puss-in-Boots or the Earl King, which is the next story we'll be talking about. But I hope this was interesting. I hope you enjoyed it. And remember, life is a sin.